Welcome back, everyone, and I'm back in the studio with Mr. Ray Torres. If he looks familiar, it's because he's been here before. We are glad to welcome you back in the studio today.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Oh, you're very welcome. Ray, remind us, how long have you been with the Real Talk Youth Impact Program now?
Oh, since 2013. Actually started in October of 2012, and it's been a little while now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a veteran member now of the program, what kind of changes or evolution have you seen from the incarnation of the program to today?
Well, the growth in the number of children that come to our program has definitely increased. We've got more participants. Of course, we can always use more. And then I think we're just fine-tuning our program, making it more efficient, and it's just more people getting involved, more people in the community get involved, and just putting it out there so the community can see what we're about. And I think little by little we're growing. And
that's great. Well, I mean, we have a video. I want to air this because I think it's very important to remind everyone the premise of the program, why it was created, what the whole concept is of the program. So we're going to roll that, but I want you to talk for just a quick second about the parent group. Have you been involved in that, and what are you seeing in the parent group about their participation?
I have been involved in it, and the parents, I see a lot of frustration in them. I see a lot of them they have their hands tied. They want to help their kids, but a lot of them don't know how to help. And I think that's a good thing that they are coming to our program, because they can get feedback, they can get input from troubled youths who are now adults, former troubled youths who are now adults, who are giving back, working in the program, and they can get input from former troubled youths who now work as interventionists. And I think that'll open up their eyes and help them understand what their kids might be going through.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a look at our first video. It's video number 1, and I believe you have a cameo appearance in this, so let's take a look at video number 1.
Welcome. We're glad you're here and tuned into the Findlay Community Spotlight Series. Findlay Automotive Group is proud to spotlight Real Talk Youth Impact Program. We hope you're empowered by this short video, and we invite you to connect and get involved with this and many other organizations at findlayspotlight.com.
Real Talk is an educational program. I like to tell people it's a scared straight, if you will, with fringe benefits. And it's ages 8 to 18, and what we do is service the community kids. We service the kids who are from the court system. The ultimate goal is to try to obviously save as many kids as we can, but my focus generally is on the community kids, because ideally we want to keep them out of the system. And if we get those who are from the system, we want to try and reduce the recidivism rate. And we need to start with somewhere as the kids are in our community and across the nation, but we're starting here, to try and reduce the level of thinking, the poor choices that they're making today. And kids today, they're dealing with a whole lot of different issues than we were when we were growing up.
The kids that come through our program, a lot of them are looking for their identity. A lot of them are looking for a place to be, activities. A lot of them are looking for someone to guide them.
What's important is to have an adult figure of authority as they see it, but somebody that's not so straight edge. It's very unusual to find a person that's been a felon, perhaps been in prison or in a lot of trouble, and has done the things that they think are worthy of being idolized, but that person's telling them not to do it.
I tell parents all the time, every child in this community, ages 8 to 18, needs to go through Real Talk. Whether you think your child is good, whether you think your child is stable, okay, because life happens. As we progress, things change.
What opened his eyes maybe to different perspective were speakers, not necessarily some of the things he would see, but people actually talking directly about their situations to him and the other children.
I promise that you will hear and they will hear some of the same things you've been trying to tell them, but from different people who've been there and done that.
Seeing different consequences, and with the guest speakers I've seen the good point of view and the kind of criminal point of view, and how you can prevent getting to the bad side.
When the kids come to the program, obviously there's a check-in process, and then we seat them in the auditorium. And once that's done, my MC is one of my members, and They talk to the kids, sharing their story briefly, and then they open up for the first speaker to come in. So 3 of my members, 2 males and a female, get the opportunity every month to talk to the kids about choices, and they get 15 minutes apiece. They do not glorify what they've done. We try to be and keep it as authentic as possible without using profanity, yelling and screaming at the kids, because that's just not effective. The beauty of it all is my members have just a variety of backgrounds, from the federal system to the state system. We've had people that have attended private schools and ended up in the system talking to our kids about choices.
I really like to invest in the idea of character development. And I like to also tie that into my own story and show that I was at one point not long ago their age and making those same mistakes.
I observed more of his empathy towards other people's situations. You know, he is a young man. He's going through his years becoming a teenager, so I am still going to get that attitude of coming of age. However, he can apply difficult situations to some of the things the speakers have talked about a lot better than when I would just tell him.
We have a parent group that is a requirement for the parents to come to. And we open the door for the parents to basically share what they're going through. That allows my members to give them some insight on some of the signs and symptoms that they need to start looking at.
I've talked to many different parents, and some of them just give up. They're like, I don't know what else to do with my children. Kids are involved in this and that, and gangs and drugs, and some of them almost at the edge of losing hope.
Because some of my ladies and gentlemen, they had a parent like that, and they now recognize, the member, when they're older, that the things that their parents were doing weren't appropriate. And so now my members, what I like to refer them as, they're doctorates of the streets. So they allow themselves to talk to the parents and say, hey, I was your child, and this is the road I took. So I'm suggesting to you to take a look at how you're parenting your child. So that's the second part of the program, and it all takes place during the same time as the other auditorium with the kids. Then we have a closing speaker, and we bring people in from the community, be it attorneys, doctors, dentists, business owners. So I want to leave on a positive note at the end of the night to let the kids know you can still attain things. We just recently had Chief Judge Navarro from the United States District Court, and she came and closed the program out to give the kids a little bit of her story and to, encourage them to stay on track and talk about, the things that they want in life. And when they graduate, it's the 3rd time around they graduate, and they get a certificate from us, or certificate from Senator Heller's office and Senator Reed's office, and then we also give them a graduation t-shirt. And thus far, graduation, we have now 421 graduates from the program since 2013. And we have now, through the program, 745 kids to date. And then the final piece to our program is the opportunity for these kids to take advantage of something that's basically handed to them. They can sign up for anything they want in their neighborhood, and we will pay for it up to $150 a month to assist them outside of Real Talk, because we're not going to change every child once a month. So the idea is when you go home, you have another avenue to reach out to. So whatever your passion is, and as long as they have a 2.0 with passing grades, they remain in compliance, they give us a thank you letter to Real Talk and our supporters, we will sign them up within a week and get them active, get them involved in something they like, not what I want to do. Statistically, research has proven any child you have and get them involved in an extracurricular activity, it creates, responsibilities, discipline, teamwork, social skills, and actually eventually even having better voting percentages in the younger kids as they become adults.
But I always say you can't just quit and not be involved in something. The minute you're not involved in something, something will find you to get involved in. And unfortunately, that's usually not something good.
From the surveys that we get at the end compared to the initial one, huge difference. And I share those with my members because we have quarterly meetings, so I can keep them abreast of what's happening with our program, where we're headed. It's an eye-opening experience for them, and it gives them much more gratitude for what they're doing because they see the change in the kids. Ultimately, the goal for me, the overall goal, is to go national. to take this program national, because it's not just because it's my program, it's a program that's needed across the nation. I do believe, though, if we save at least a quarter of the kids we serve, we do two things. We make a positive change in their lives, and we save the taxpayers a lot of money. First, we need community support, number one, and that can be financially and that can be physically. More so financially right now. If we can have people donate money to us regularly, that would help sustain the growth of the program. Grants are great, but you have to wait for them.
Real Talk is a family because we're working together as a family to extend our love, our support out to the community.
So to learn more information about Real Talk, you can go to our website at realtalkyip.org or contact us at 702-625-2417 or follow us on Facebook at Real Talk NV.
Welcome back, everyone. That really gives you an up and personal, close glimpse at what the Real Talk Youth Impact Program is about. Ray, with your having been a member now for 6 years, obviously this program is headed towards a national level. How do you feel that your role is going to evolve, and what do you think your involvement is going to be as it changes?
Well, I think the experience that I have is going to, and not only my experience, other members that have been through similar situations, I think that through our experience that we could move the program forward nationwide. I think once we start going nationwide, of course, I'm going to have to take a bigger role with, which that would be up to Cherie, whatever she wants me to do. But I'm willing to do whatever she wants. For me, it's about changing lives. It's about working with youth. It's about sharing my past experiences, my past mistakes, my past bad choices, and I think that the youth tend to listen to somebody that's been through it, that has the experience, and through past feedback that I realize that kids, they listen. Not all of them, but that little handful of them that do listen, one person can make a change in their lives, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help change those lives.
You've talked a lot about second chances. What was your second chance? And speak about that in very general terms. What is a second chance, in your opinion? Well,
my second chance is, and it's on different levels. As far as being incarcerated for a sentence 19 years, 7 months, and being released, I felt that once I was released, I felt that I got a second chance to do it right this time. I didn't want to be known as the drug dealer Ray or the bad person Ray. I wanted to be known as the person that's going to change lives. Once I realized that, life is not about me or what I can take, it's about what can I give back. That was my second chance to give back to the community, to help change lives. And I think that once I realized that, it gave me that peace, that joy, knowing that, okay, even though I made mistakes, even though I had made bad decisions, I can use that experience for something good. And given a second chance at life, at freedom, at appreciating life, because before my incarceration, I had no longer appreciated life. I thought that, it was about me. What can I get out of this world? What can I take? But once everything's taken from you and you get it back, just petting a dog, playing with a cat, smelling flowers, you start realizing, wow, this is even shopping at Walmart. When I first got out, when I first got out shopping at Walmart, I went through every single aisle because I was like, wow, look at this food, and I was like, wow. And the person that I was with was like, thought I was nuts at the time, but unless everything's taken from you, and then once you get it back, you start looking at a whole different appreciation of life. And that's all part of the second, getting a second chance at life, and being thankful for what you have.
Well, and you're very accomplished right now. You're an author, you're a writer, you're involving yourself in creating documentaries. You have some other projects. How do you want to incorporate all of that talent that you have into reaching back into the Real Talk program, incorporating those skills? What's your vision there?
Well, my vision is on the documentary that I'm working on. It's based on my book titled The Chauffeur, which I won an award, International Latino Book Award. But I want to tie in my story as a troubled youth and how I was impacted and how I was changed through all the bad choices that I make. But then again, I want to show that how, during all that experience that I had during those bad choices, how I can use that and reach out to change the lives of youth. In the Real Talk program, I want to tie in the documentary showing what some of these youth go through, how we can affect their lives in a positive way. And once I've learned that one person can make a difference in all the lives around them, it's like the ripple effect. Once I've learned that, either in a positive way or a negative way, once I realized that, I said, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to change lives in a positive way. And through this documentary that I'm working on, I'm definitely going to tie in the Youth Impact Program and show that, you know what, this is what it's about. It's about a story of second chances, about changing lives, about helping the community, about making a difference in the world that we live in the community that we live in each person's life that comes across our path.
Now, are you thinking about maybe taking some of the kids that are involved in the program or some of the members in the program and incorporating that into your documentary?
Absolutely. There will be some interviews with some of the members of Real Talk. There'll be some interviews of some kids and some former inmates who are also part of the program. And they'll give their feedback of their experiences of working with kids and bad choices and where the program's going today.
What do you want this documentary to actually accomplish?
I want it to change lives. I want people to think about their own lives, about how they can make a difference, about second chances, about appreciating what they have, about our youth and how our youth look up to us and how we do affect their decisions. And hopefully that the documentary will leave a positive impact on people viewing it, and it'll give them the desire to reach out and help their own community.
Well, I know a large part of the program with the Real Talk Youth Impact Program is to be more proactive versus reactive. But what kind of advice can you give someone who's already been a product of the system to create that second chance for themselves?
Well, I think it's all in the mindset. If you're going to walk through life saying, woe is me, the system put me down, nobody wants to help me out, nobody wants to do this, I think that person has to take a look at themselves and their attitude. And because some of that stuff is true when you grow up in certain areas, but I noticed when my mindset changed to something positive, and I started seeing the glass half full instead of half empty, and I started realizing, well, I can help out with what little I have. Let me start with this. Once they start with something small, then doors start opening up bigger and bigger and bigger. Their attitude changes. Once they start, and then once you appreciate life and what you have and the opportunities, they'll come. They'll come. I mean, when you're helping people, when you're helping the community, when you're giving back, that's when doors open.
Absolutely.
And I think that once a person realizes, you know what, let me get out of this self-pity. Let me get out of, because I'm going to tell you one thing. Not one time has my past criminal history affected me, even in a job, and everywhere I go, a door is always open. Not necessarily the door that I want at the time, but a better door will open. And my past record has never affected me at all.
That's fantastic. Speaking of the kids of the program, I think we have a few minutes. I want to roll another video. It's video number 2, and this is involving the children of the Real Talk Youth Impact Program. Let's take a look at this.
My name is Tasha, and this is Rogelio.
Hello.
And we wanted to tell you a little bit about why we are involved in Real Talk and why it's so important to us. I searched out Real Talk when I was looking for a program to give back to kids. I wanted to find something where I could give back for the mistakes that I'd made in the past, and Real Talk gave me an opportunity to do that. We speak for about 15 minutes and kind of just give a small breakdown of, what got you to spend that amount of time in prison, and let them see what's going to happen to them if they continue either down the path that they're going down, or if they start to hang out with people that are already in that situation. We also offer extracurricular activities for them, which is a huge component of the program, because art, things like that, it's going to have them doing positive things. And when you're around positive things and positive people, you stay in that track. And Real Talk will pay up to $150 a month for whatever activity, extracurricular activity they choose. That's the whole premise of it, is that the choices that you make are going to end you up either where we are, standing in front of people and telling our story, and going through prison and being in and out of prison and being locked up in a cell. And we like to explain that to them and paint a picture for them. And hopefully they can see that, this is where they're going to end up.
I learned that you could accomplish anything if you try hard enough. I learned that if you make the wrong choice, don't do it again. And then, if you fail a test, then just try harder next time.
I think I remember saying that. Good job.
I learned that even if your friends do something bad, that means you shouldn't do it. But, have friends that will tell you to do stuff that will help you more.
Okay, good job.
I learned to make good choices, because if you choose the bad ones, then it's going to be effective in your life.
I learned if you're in a bad spot, you can always get out of it if you try.
I learned that you don't have to listen to everybody, but you can only listen to one sermon that's the right person for you.
Awesome. I learned no matter how bad your childhood was, that you can always take the good path out and don't turn to drugs and violence.
I learned that when you catch yourself going down the wrong path in life, you need to change that into you can easily change that into a better life for yourself.
Most importantly, when I see kids that come in for the first time and they look like they've just been beat up emotionally, like they just look completely weathered, and on the third time they're like, there's a new light behind their eyes, like something clicks in them. You watch a kid when they're listening to a story, like one of our stories, and you see when they relate to that one thing, and all of a sudden they sit up, and all of a sudden there's a light in their eyes, or they even start crying. It's like something happens in them, and they something clicks, and it's like something changes, and you can feel like, for the most part, more than likely, that person is going to start making better choices.
It's just amazing. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to know we have that kind of impact from a lot of our past. It feels good to be on this side, preventing it from happening again. So.
One kid at a time, and everything I did my whole life that I wasted won't feel so wasted. So I feel like this program helps kids. It opens their eyes, because we give them another way to look at it. They could either be good, or they could do time like we did. And I promise you, time is good for nobody, because you lose everything: family, friends, your own self-respect. You get nothing. So you can either wake up now or wake up later, but you're gonna wake up. Can I say a little rap? I'm just playing. I'm playing.
All right, everyone, I really want to take a quick minute here to mention a fundraiser that's going to be coming up, and this is going to be on Saturday, June 9th from 3:30 to 5:30, and this fundraiser is called Strikes for At-Risk Youth. It's going to be held at the Gold Coast, and that is located at 4000 West Flamingo Road. Just a little bit more information. It's $25 per adult bowler. It's $10 per child and $100 per team. There's also sponsorship available, and to register for this event, you can go to realtalkeventfundraiser.eventbrite.com to get that additional information. And Ray, we're going to wrap this up with a video of you addressing the children and the Real Talk Youth Impact Program, and that's going to be video number 4.
Goals in life, anybody? Raise your hand. Everybody should have a goal or a dream in life. If you don't, find one. Now, my next question is, what are you doing to achieve that goal, to achieve that dream? Is anybody doing anything, working toward it? Training? Awesome. Training is a good start. You're talking to somebody that dropped out of school right here, that never did good in school. They got D's and F's. I think I might have got an A in PE. They dropped out of high school, couldn't read or write, went to federal prison, forced to get educated. Then I wanted to get educated because in prison you have to get your GED. You have to go to school. It's mandatory. But when I was there, I wanted to learn. Years later, I got arrested in 1995. Years later, I got a book that was published, award-winning author. I write movie scripts now, working in the movie production, celebrity chauffeur. This is when you do the right thing, and you set your mind to something, and you work toward it little by little. And when I came home from prison, I had nothing. I was sleeping on the couch in my mom's house. Something to think about. Day by day, there's 24 hours in a day. 24 hours. Use those 24 hours wisely, because you're not going to get them back the next day. It's a whole different day. It's a whole new 24 hours. You guys are young, you got your whole life ahead of you. Matter of fact, I'm just signing up to go to see the community college over there for Cheyenne Film School. Matter of fact, I was talking to a counselor today, 48 years old, going back to college. You guys ain't even there yet. You still have your whole life ahead of you. Think about it. Our next speaker is Paulette. She's 41 years old and has served a total of 2 years in custody, which includes 1 year in federal custody and 1 year in state custody. Her purpose for joining Real Talk is to give back to the community and fulfill her passion to work with youth. She wishes to plant a seed in every youth that she wishes to plant a seed in every youth she speaks to in hopes that they will develop and nurture the seed as they become adults. Give a warm welcome to Paulette.
Hi guys, my name is Paulette. Whoa, it works really good when you're up here. How many know the difference between a felony and a misdemeanor? Raise your hands. The bottom line for me, the difference between felony and misdemeanor is the amount of money your crime was for. I was out there doing felony crimes for misdemeanor money. That's how it ended up. I was getting in trouble for felony after felony after felony. And it was for misdemeanor money. I wasn't making thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I was adding up points on my record. And the first couple times they worked it out with me. They dropped it down and said, okay, we're just going to give you misdemeanor time. And I went to jail, and I went to jail, and I went to jail. I went to drug court. I went to different programs. And finally, they gave me a felony crime. I did a felony crime. I got felony time for it. And I went to federal prison. And I went to state prison too. And for 32 days, I was locked down in state prison. And I couldn't get out but 20 minutes a week. And you had to make your phone calls, or twice a week for 20 minutes. You had to make all your phone calls and take a shower in that time. And the rest of the time, we were 24-hour lockdown with one other person in our cell for 32 days. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. So I'll back up a little bit and tell you I was born in Las Vegas, and I went to private school. My mom just retired from the courthouse after 33 years of working for the courthouse, and my dad smoked weed. And I was embarrassed about it. I didn't think it was cool. I didn't think other people's parents are smoking weed. I didn't want anyone to come over to my house because I think they would smell my dad smoking weed. So I didn't have a lot of friends because I didn't go to public school, so it wasn't like I lived by my school and I walked to school with my friends. It wasn't like that. I had to be driven across town, and I hated it. I hated that I didn't have friends on my block, even though there was kids that lived across the street from me. And I was an only kid, and I always hung out with the adults, and I always did adult things. I wanted to be cool. That's all I wanted to do. And so one day my dad told me, you need to go have some friends. Go outside and don't come in until you have some friends. So I went outside and I sat on my neighbor's wall and I waited till these kids felt sorry for me. They came over and they talked to me, and I said, what's your name? And I still remember their names were Renee and Michael Baca. And I said, okay, that's all I need. I needed your names. We're friends now. End of story. And I walked back in my house because I didn't know how to play with other kids. I always hung out with the adults at my house that came to smoke weed with my dad. And my dad said, why are you back in the house? I said, because I have friends now. And he said, who are your friends? I said, Michael and Renee. Those are my friends. And they ended up really becoming my friends, and we hung out sometimes, and nobody ever came in my house because my dad was always smoking weed. And back then, it was 40, 30 years ago, and it wasn't as accepted as it is now. And everybody's like, oh, weed's legal, this is legal, that's legal. Back then, it wasn't cool, and I was embarrassed and ashamed. And I gotta be honest, I wasn't a superstar athlete. I wasn't out there. I tried to play basketball. It was a joke. I mean, there was no reason for me to be in there. I was not a superstar. I tried to play volleyball. It was a joke. I was not a superstar. I'll tell you what I was, though. I was super smart. And I would be in all these honor classes. I was in private school. My parents paid, and because my dad was off and on work all the time because of his drug addiction, my mom had to make ends meet for us. And they definitely wanted me to get a higher education because my mom worked at the courthouse and she heard what people were going through every day. And so I was always in honors classes, and I didn't feel like I fit in there either. I could get good grades if I studied. I wanted to be lazy. I just wanted to go to school and go home. That's it. I didn't want to get good grades. But I did want to play music, but we couldn't afford it. We could barely afford for me to go to school. So I'll tell you when I learned to play music when I was in federal prison. That's how I learned to play music. So how many of you guys know that you can play sports or how many of you think this is a punishment? Raise your hand. Real talk. Okay. How many of you want to play sports or play music or dance or rap or anything like that? How many of you know that Real Talk will pay that every month for you to go and participate in that? So Real Talk's program is they require you to come for 3 months. It's a 3-month-long program. If you come every month, once a month, for 3 hours, they'll pay up to $150 of your choice to sports, to music, to rapping, to BMXing, to anything your heart desires. Ray asked you if you want to do anything in particular. I wanted to learn how to play music, and I never thought we could afford it. Now I learned how to play music. You don't have to wait and go to federal prison and enjoy the nicer part of prison. Federal prison was better than state prison. How many of you have grandmas? Everybody have grandmas? My grandma died while I was in federal prison. My favorite grandma that I grew up with, that I hung out with, my favorite person in the whole world, she died while I was in federal prison. And they could have paid $2,500 for me to come to Pahrump. I was in holding to Vegas, and I could have went to my grandma's funeral in Shackles, but I didn't want to do that. I was embarrassed. I didn't want my family to know that I was in jail, even though I was on Crime Stoppers, on News 3 Crime Stoppers. That's where I ended up at, doing felony crimes for misdemeanor money, over and over again. So how many of you have people in your family that get talked about because they're in trouble all the time, they're in jail all the time? Okay, I ended up being that person. It's embarrassing. I went to my aunt's funeral this weekend, and I was embarrassed to go in because I didn't know if people were going to judge me for being in jail, and judge me for making mistakes, and judge me for being, I'm a recovering drug addict. I did drugs. I hated my dad for doing drugs, and then I did drugs. I went to private school. I went to Bishop Gorman. And I graduated, and I had the opportunity to go to college. I went to college, and And then I got a career in insurance. I was an insurance agent and I used to sell insurance for casinos. And then I got in a really bad relationship and I started getting abused and I started being a physical abuser back and I started using drugs and I used meth for many, many years. And I got my life back together. I went through drug court and just like you guys go through different programs, I completed the program and I felt like I deserved a reward for doing that, so I got high again and I partied again and I got in bad relationships again. And I finally ended up in prison. They'll wait for you. They'll wait. My number was 492-13048, federal prison, inmate ID number. They didn't say my first name. They didn't care my first name. They didn't want to know my first name. The people that were with me didn't know my first name. They knew my last name or my ID number. When I got off the bus, they asked you your number. They didn't care who you were besides that. You don't have to be that person. You can. They took old people. They took people with no legs. They took people who died while they were in custody. They took young people, 17 years old. They take everybody. They got room for you. They made room for you. They'll let you sit in a hole for 32 days until they got a spot for you, and they'll move you over there. You sit there like a caged animal, like when you go to the vets or to the animals that I made over and over. Today, I refuse to do that. I refuse to do that. I know people who died in their addiction. Last week at my office, a guy came in, he brought his doctor's excuse. He said I was sick over the weekend. He overdosed over the weekend. I got a call when I was in California that said they don't think he's going to make it. Then he showed up to work on Tuesday. I said, where were you Monday? He said, I was in the doctor's office. He overdosed. He was in the hospital. The next day, he didn't come to work again. Yesterday, he called and said, I have a doctor's excuse. He overdosed again. Every time he overdoses, he could die. That's the bottom line. So if you guys want to do drugs or try to fit in or try to do whatever to make yourself fit in, you can do that. The choice is yours. And you can also deal with the consequences. There's always consequences for what we do. There's going to be good consequences and bad consequences. It's really your choice. What can you deal with? I learned that I could deal with being caged like an animal for 32 days, and I never want to experience that again. That's the bottom line. I go to college. I've been out of prison for 1 year. I have $10,000 sitting at my house that I've saved, legitly. I didn't have to do a felony crime. I didn't have to do a misdemeanor crime. I go to school 3 nights a week. I volunteer here. I work a full-time job. And I go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings because I'm a drug addict who needs help. Period. That's my story. I barely get to see my kids. I saw my oldest daughter when I first got out. When I walked in the room, she turned around and walked out. She's disgusted by me. She doesn't even give me the time of day to tell her I'm sorry, and I am. I am. Somebody asked me, when you held your baby in your arms, did you think you were going to leave him and never see him again? Nope. I never thought I was going to be that person who wasn't around, that was on food stamps, that was on Medicaid, that didn't have money to pay for her kid to have shoes. I just wanted my kids to have nice things. And because I wanted those nice things, I started doing felony crimes for misdemeanor money. And at the end of the day, I didn't have any of that money, I didn't have any of those things, and I didn't have any of my kids. So it's really your choice today if you want to continue down the path where you're getting in trouble. If you haven't gotten in trouble, take advantage of the program. They will pay up to $150 a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's going to keep you going in sports for the whole year. If it wasn't a lot, then you'd be doing it right now. Take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you freely just for showing up. For you being here for 3 hours a night, you're getting $150. That's $50 an hour. That's your choice. If you want to take that choice today, if you want to learn how to play music, if you want to be into sports, if you want to take something that's advanced, who cares if your friends are doing it? Be the one to show them how cool your ideas are. You don't have to follow other people's ideas. You can go ahead and step out on your own. And if you need a support group, Real Talk's here to show you how to do those things. That's all I got.